Welcome to another exciting edition of 26 Weeks or Less. And this time around, it's time to salute once again who I consider the king of the short-lived game shows, Bob Stewart. Now, Bob Stewart always would rework his shows in order to get us another show out of it, and usually in the 70s, he could get 13 weeks out of it. Well, not the case with this one because it worked in reverse. Because he reworked this show, not only got a 13-week show out of it, but also revivals that lasted for way longer than this show ever did. I am, of course, talking about the 1980 version of Chain Reaction.
This is Chain Reaction, where one word leads to another, with today's special guest stars, Joyce Boulevard, Dee Dee Kahn, Jay Johnson, Robert Mandan, and the star of Chain Reaction, Bill Cullen.
The original version of Chain Reaction debuted on January 14th, 1980, as a replacement for Goodson Todman's Mind Readers. Hosted by Bill Cullen, two teams of three comprised of two celebrities and one contestant competed to link together words that formed a chain of 8 words. That's the front game. The end game is another piece altogether. We'll get back to that in a bit. So now let's talk about the host of the show, honestly one of the greatest game show hosts of all time, and that would be Bill Cullen.
The star of Chain Reaction, Bill Cullen.
Thank you all very much, and welcome to Chain Reaction.
I don't need to talk about how great Bill is, so I'll just talk about how he got here from our last 26 Weeks or Less, in which he was on Pass the Buck. After Pass the Buck got canceled, he was still hosting the $25,000 Pyramid in syndication. The 1978-1979 season would see the last season of the nighttime version of Pyramid, because syndication at the time was going in a completely different direction, where weekly game show strips were being replaced with more 5-a-week strips. During this time, he was also hosting a 5-a-week strip in The Love Experts. It was a talk show with a game element to it. It was alright, but might have been too ahead of its time, and was also canceled at the end of the season. Now he's here in Chain Reaction, and does a damn good job here. Now, if you remember, I kind of hinted at hosts, not just the singular. That's because during the run of the show, Bill had to fill in on Password Plus for an ailing Alan Lund. So this wonderful gentleman took his place for a couple weeks.
And our guest host on Chain Reaction, Jeff Edwards.
Thank you. Welcome to Chain Reaction. Delighted to have you here today. It's a good audience. We're going to have a good game. We had a bunch of good stuff happen yesterday. Oh, by the way, I'm filling in for Bill Cullen. He's taking some time off, and I'll be here till he gets back, and that's my pleasure.
While Bill was away, Jeff Edwards filled in, and he did a great job as well. You would say that he's taking some time off to explain why he was here, the he being Bill Cullen. While Jeff didn't connect with the celebs as much as Bill did, Jeff, I thought, was better connecting with the contestants, as evident by how he commiserated with the contestants when they had a rough endgame. I believe this is the reason why Bob Stewart always had Jeff Edwards on speed dial. If Bill can't host the show, Jeff Edwards can be plugged in and run the shop like nobody's business. So we got two hosts who are amazing. Now what about that format? The game features two teams of 3 players made up of 2 celebrities and a contestant. They are then shown an 8-word chain with the first and last word revealed, and they have to link them together. The team in control and the first player in line asks for a letter below the first word or above the last word. The letter is shown, they have 3 seconds to guess. If they are right, they get 1 point per letter in the word. So if the top word was world and the next word was wide, they would get 4 points. If they are wrong, control passes to the next team. Also on the board are plus signs, which indicate if the team gets it right, they get double points. So using wide as the previous example would mean 8 points instead of 4. Once a chain is completed, they go on to a new chain. The first team to reach 50 points wins and goes on to the bonus game. This format is interesting and it adds a new dynamic to word games. I honestly like the front game, although the scoring system can be wonky at times. What also is confusing is that sometimes you don't know whose turn it is if you can't see the blinking lights in front of the players. But those are minor complaints compared to the bonus game. The bonus game changes the dynamic a bit. Instead of figuring out words to form a chain, the contestant has to chain together words at a time to form a question to get the contestant to answer the word that is being shown to them on a secret screen. When the question is formed enough, the celebrities will hit a bell to signal the contestant's time to answer. That's the gist of the bonus game. The payout format, though, changed quite a few times during the show's run. In the first week of shows, a half-zero format was used. The contestant would start with $1, and for every 2 answers correctly given, they'd add a 0 to the 1. So answering 8 in 60 seconds would win the contestant the max of $10,000. The 60 seconds made it almost impossible to pull off. More often than not, contestants would only win an additional $100. I honestly don't know if anybody won the $10,000 during this format. A week later, a new format was introduced, this time with 90 seconds from 60, and the payout format changed to when the first answer was worth $1, then $10, then $100, and $1,000 for the fourth answer. The next 4 answers added an additional $1,000 to the pot, so getting 8 would net you $5,000. The 9th answer, if it's done in 90 seconds, would get the contestant $10,000. I think this was put into place to increase the amount given away that wasn't given away on the first format. But no, honestly, you need some form of graph to understand the payout structure for this one. Like this one right here. The third format went back to basics. First 8 answers were worth $100 apiece on top of the $100 won in the main game. The 9th correct answer would then be worth $10,000. It's so simple that you didn't need to complicate it with payout formats that take too long to understand. I'm a bit disheartened that Bob Stewart thought that getting cute with the payouts was more preferable than putting out something that has been tried and true all these many years, and more importantly, understandable to the home viewer. But the problems were fixed in the bonus game and the third format shined. So here's the question. Why was this show short-lived? Well, there are a few mitigating reasons. First of all, the show was put at 12 o'clock, and around that time period, a lot of stations were airing local news. I know NBC, King TV here in Seattle did, so they never carried Chain Reaction, I don't believe. Usually would be scuttled to another independent station around the area. And secondly, and the biggest one of all, David Letterman! Yes, around 1980, Fred Silverman wanted to put a 90-minute daytime David Letterman show on the air. 2 shows were already on the chopping block, High Rollers and Hollywood Squares. They wanted to axe a third one, and the one that was on the chopping block was Wheel of Fortune. When that show got a big boost of popularity at around 1980, Chain Reaction was made expendable. So Wheel of Fortune got moved, Chain Reaction got canceled, and so from 10 o'clock to 11:30, you got a 90-minute David Letterman show. So what happened to the show after its cancellation is nothing short of extraordinary. In 1985, around September on the USA Network, Chain Reaction would start rerunning. In August of 1986, a new version called The New Chain Reaction would air on the USA Network and would last until the end of 1991. 15 years later after that, we would get a revival on GSN hosted by Dylan Lane, which I felt fell flat because of Michael Davies' overproduction, made it look too much like Millionaire. We would get another revival a few years later with Mike Catherwood as host, a different format for the bonus game, and it only lasted 40 episodes because GSN was changing everything around that time period. A new staff was coming in. Now, in 2021, the show has been brought back again, with Dylan Lane as host, with a much better format, a much better endgame, and Dylan Lane allowed to be himself, which is a godsend. Because I think The New Chain Reaction on GSN is a fantastic show, and everybody should watch it. Well, that's going to do it for me for this edition of 26 Weeks or Less. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you liked what you see, thumbs up the video, leave a comment if you want to suggest a subject for 26 Weeks or Less you'd like us to talk about. Subscribe to the video, subscribe to this channel for more videos, and if you want to see this video a day before anybody else, become a Patreon backer at patreon.com/GameShowGumbo. I'm Cindy Sama. Until next time, bye-bye!